$750 million gets you $2 billion with no new taxes. A sweet deal. Or is there some alum amid the sugar? And by the way, says the governor, the deal's off without Arkansas Works. And the economy, the energy glut, it comes home to Arkansas. Arkansas Week next.
Arkansas Week is made possible in part by the Arkansas Times, keeping you informed by covering people, events, and politics in Arkansas. By FM 89, KUAR in Little Rock, with in-depth news reporting, analysis, and discussion each weekday.
This is Arkansas Week.
Hello again, everyone. Thanks for joining us. There was really only one story this week, other than perhaps the weather, and that was highways, except highways segues into a couple of other stories, and we'll try to cover it all in the next half hour. Steve Bronner joins us, an independent journalist. Wesley Brown, editor and reporter for Talk Business and Politics. And guys, thanks for coming in. The suspense had kind of become bearable in terms of exactly where the administration would get some of the money, Steve, Wes, that it wanted to send to the highway department. But anyway, it's over the next decade. The stakes are this, according to the administration: $750 million gets you $2 billion.
From the federal government.
Right.
And if you don't have the $750 million, or really $50 million a year, you don't get that money, and that was not something that Governor Hutchinson was going to turn down. Yes, the suspense had become bearable, in part because the governor had already said what he would not do. That was raise taxes. He said he would not raise taxes, even though his task force to look at highway funding had in many ways recommended that. And he said, no, it's not going to happen. Instead, the money that he's proposing would come from surplus funds over the next, a lot of it this year, more coming from in the future. Also, general revenue funds, the money that comes from the sales taxes from new and used car vehicles, which has been a big thing on the wish list of highway supporters for a long time. Some of that's going to start being funneled into into highways. Then there's some other little smaller things, but that's where the bulk of the money is going to come from.
Administration was insistent that it would cap. Part of the plan is to cap the drain on general revenues at $25 million.
Yeah, you know, this has been extremely controversial because general revenues have never been used to pay for highways. It's always come from motor fuels taxes until voters passed in 2012 a half-cent sales tax for highways. Besides that, it's never come from general revenues. And that the issue with general revenues is that's what funds everything else. So everybody else that benefits from that pot of money is going to have a real problem with some of it going to highways. So I think Governor Hutchinson picked a very small number to introduce that, but there's still going to be some resistance.
When you hear the trade groups that came up when Hutchinson proposed this, and everybody was waiting to see what would actually happen. This has been in the works for a long time, and the suspense was getting up there. But when I think dipping into the general revenues funds, I think that's something that's traditionally been a no-no. So, but now we're going to see that, and there are a few groups out there that have said, this is you're going to take away from social services and things of that nature, take away. But there were some that supported that. Arkansas Trucking Association supported it, and then Americans for Prosperity, they supported it. So you had his normal support that he's going to get, and me and Steve talked a little bit earlier. I guess the big thing is when it gets to the lawmakers, how they're feeling about it. Starting to hear a few things. Andy Davis has come out and said, we need to take a start looking at the Highway Commission a little bit more, have more oversight. And, I think there's going to be some takeaways from this once it gets to the session in the legislature.
A couple of social service nonprofits already have thrown the flag. As we've said, general revenues tapping general revenues for highway, really any other purpose, has always been akin to defiling the temple.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Mr. Hutchinson said at his news conference where he unveiled this proposal, there's nothing sacrosanct about it. Others will disagree and already have.
Yeah.
Obviously, they fear that pool will shrink with, they fear, inevitably consequences for general fund agencies.
And this idea has come across in the past, or come up in the past two sessions. In 2013, there was a Jonathan Barnett, who was in the legislature at the time. He had a bill that had, I think it was 67 co-sponsors to start transferring funds from new and used car sales taxes to highways. It died under opposition from all these groups and from Governor Beebe. In this past session, Representative Douglas from Bentonville also had this same idea, and it died under opposition from Governor Hutchinson. He was opposed to this idea at first until he had time to look at the numbers, and eventually he has come around to taking this amount. But again, it's going to be very controversial because those same groups that were getting their money from general revenues before still get their money from general revenues now. So they will have questions for sure.
Yeah, and I think the one thing, once you open that door, I think the belief is, you look at Congress and any time the government gets its hands on a pool of money, they seem to never, they're going to want more. And once you open the door, I think it's going to continue. That number is going to increase. The bar that he set, I think it remains to be seen if that number will increase over the next session or when other people come into to the state capitol.
Well, in return for this largesse or this infusion, this spurt, this surge, let's call it, of new money for highways, Mr. Hutchinson said he believes that the executive and the legislative branches have a right to a, how did he put it, more responsive, more transparent highway commission. Meaning what? Under
the Mack-Blackwell amendment, the Highway Commission is separate and equal in many ways. It can, it decides what gets, where we build our roads. It's constitutionally independent. And there are many legislators and many people who think, well, they're not building the roads where the people are. And other people say, well, yes, they are. They're building where I am. This is where I want them. If the legislature begins to take money out of what's traditionally been its little pot of money that is kind of passed out and is now giving it to highways, many are going to say, well, now we want to have more say in where these highways are being built. And this is going to be, a big change. The whole idea about having Mack-Blackwell when it was passed in like 1948, I think is when it was passed. The whole idea was to take politics out of highways, which was ridiculous. We still have politics in highways today, no matter how you do it.
Highway Commission reads the papers.
Yes, they do. Yeah. But now, I think you will see more legislative interest. The governor may be more interested. He did say in his press conference that actually the Highway Commission is probably pretty transparent within itself and within the department, but not necessarily has it done a good job of communicating out with the rest of the state. And now we'll see exactly what does he mean by a more transparent highway commission.
Well, Wesley, it has been an accelerating complaint or growing complaint among legislators, particularly that the transportation, the highway dollar has not followed the traffic.
Yeah, right. And there's certain projects that they follow, and there are certain areas of the states that get, as you said, a large piece of the money, I think there's some the thought out there that if we're going to start giving the Highway Commission money, that let's do it like the private corporations. If you're going to take some from the legislature, then let's have the lawmakers pick some of the people that's on the board. Traditionally, and Steve talked about this point, is that the Highway Commission has been set aside over here, and they've done just pretty much anything that they wanted to do. They've kind of had their own little kingdom over there, and while the rest of the state, other agencies that are large as that, had more oversight. And now I think this idea that's going to continue to grow, that this agency needs more oversight, and that it can't be just over here and not be accountable to the people of Arkansas.
Decades ago, a former director of the Finance Administration Department, well, it was the late Max Milam, told this reporter once, do you think it is a coincidence the highway department is built where it is? I mean, it's 100 miles away from the state capitol. I mean, it's more than symbolic, but be that as it may. What was the point I was going to make? As Steve mentioned, it is supposedly insulated from day-to-day politics by the Mack-Blackwell Amendment. But if you have a governor serving 2 terms, he controls the commission.
Right, he will name the commission members. And of course, like you said, commission members read the papers. They understand that where public opinion is, and ultimately the legislature does have the power of the purse as far as how much money they're getting. So they know that they're not insulated from politics. No one is. No one is. So they have to keep that in mind too.
Yeah. Well, the flip side of the argument too is that I can't think of a governor who hasn't been at one point or another outraged by something the commission did, including the commissioners he appointed. So there is a certain measure of independence there that's granted.
It's always the case, though.
Exercised.
Presidents appoint Supreme Court justices and then get mad at how they rule. So it's always the case, I guess.
Well, here's 2. A couple of other funding sources. We're using some one-time money, some of Mr. Hutchinson's discretionary fund, which he can do, but also some rainy day funds, which will need legislative approval, which if the trains run on time, he seemed to believe that he can get fairly easily.
Yeah, and I even just kind of like the general revenue, the surplus has kind of been, for years it was off target. You don't dip into the reason it's called rainy day fund is for that reason. You save it for an emergency. The case can be made that this is an emergency. Our roads are an emergency, but there are some people out there you believe, like, let's leave that money alone. Let's save it for a rainy day, and especially with what's happening in the economy. You're starting to see. I don't think going forward we're going to see the revenue coming in that we've been seeing over the last couple of years.
Well, here's one other source too, and that's the General Improvement Fund, the CHIP, which the executive and legislative have split. Initial reaction seems to be that from the General Assembly, we'll consider that if we get something in return. Now, this is money that the lawmakers have been able to just basically shoot back to their home districts.
Well, there's that, and there's also the concern that some legislators have, which would be that if you fund highways out of a surplus, then you're going to have a pressure to budget conservatively on the front end, so that there will be a surplus.
Run the surplus up.
So that is something else could affect this other spending.
Okay. All of this, Mr. Hutchinson says, is contingent on one big thing, and that's expanding what he now calls Arkansas Works. That's the Medicaid expansion. Still volatile in the General Assembly.
Right.
Without it, deal's off, Mr. Hutchinson.
He says, he says, I am improving our roads and getting this federal dollars without raising taxes. And the way that I don't raise taxes is that we continue to take federal money through Medicaid to buy private insurance for individuals through what is now called the private option, and through what he intends to call Arkansas Works, which will have more personal responsibility. But we're still buying private health insurance for 200,000 Arkansans. A task force of legislators is meeting to prepare a legislative package. They have to have it done under the timeline that's been fixed by, I think, March 7th. They'll have their bills, they'll start voting. They'll have their package kind of ready by late March, and then we will have a special session to vote on whether or not to continue the private option / Arkansas Works. The special session could come before the fiscal session, which is scheduled for mid-April. Then we'll have a highway session, a special session for highways. The private options continue to be controversial because legislators believe, some of them, that it is an unacceptable expansion of Obamacare, and that the state won't be able to afford its 10% when it starts having to pay for that in in fact, it starts having to pay for 5% in 2017. So to exist, it must have a 3/4 vote of the legislature, and it has struggled to have that. It's barely made it every year. And here we go again.
Well, what's the lay of the land? What's your sense of it, Steve?
Well, you know, the state gets $1 billion a year through the private option. And without that, there was no tax cut last session. Without that, there will be no highway improvements without a tax increase. At the same time, you know, it's still Obamacare. It's still Obamacare related. So I think it will get through, but it's always going to be an issue.
Yeah, I think it's going to get through, but it's going to have to take some arm twisting. It's going to have to make some deal making because, as you said, it's still tied to that name that none of the lawmakers want to be associated with, and that's Obamacare, an expansion of Obamacare. So it's going to be once that session starts, or the special session starts, we're going to be writing some pretty good stories about what kind of deals are taking place to make this work. And because, as you noted, that's the first plank. If this doesn't happen, then the highway the highway bill doesn't happen.
Yeah, and against that backdrop, still bubbling is the managed care issue, which is yet to be resolved.
That's a huge issue. This is going to be hard to explain in a 30-minute TV show. Managed care is a way of managing Medicaid where a private company would start managing, under contract, manage Medicaid. And if they do it cheaper than they promised to, they keep the profits. And if it's more expensive than they promised to, then they'll have to pay the difference. And there's a big argument in the legislature, would this be a better way of managing our Medicaid system, or should we continue doing what we're doing, just more of it? And that will be a big part of the special session. In fact, it may be more controversial than private option.
And the expansion itself.
Right.
Okay, on to something else. No surprise, the world is flooded with energy, natural gas, petroleum. Where are we at? $6 a barrel now.
Heading that way.
Not quite, yeah. Well, it really came home on Thursday morning. And by the way, a caveat to our viewer advisory: because of adverse weather conditions, we thought it prudent to tape our broadcast on Thursday afternoon, so for Friday evening broadcast and then replay. But Wesley, at this hour, or only this morning, Thursday morning, 600 employees of one energy company in Arkansas.
Yeah, Southwestern Energy, which has been the king of the Fayetteville Shale for the last decade. I mean, they've brought in drilling natural gas in the Arkansas shale play. They've brought over $10 billion into the state's economy over the last decade, and have been more than 1,500 jobs. About last year, we're starting to see the price of first the price of crude oil. The natural gas price has been down, but it hasn't been down as low as it dropped. It's down to about $2.10 per British thermal units, which is the lowest we've seen in probably 13 or 14 years. And
well, oil's at the same 13 or 14.
Yeah, it's down to 26, and we can see that in the gasoline price. But what this is happening is these companies can't make a profit or can barely. I mean, Southwestern Energy has nearly $5 billion in debt, and they have to pay that debt off, and they can't do that now with the cash flow that's coming in. In Arkansas, they in all of their operations across the United States, they stopped drilling. They don't have a drill in the ground, so that means that they don't have any cash flow or any production. So it's going to be brutal for BHP Billington, which is another Fayetteville Shale company. They early this week they said they're going to take a $7.2 billion write down for their natural gas and oil and gas assets in the United States. And you're going to see this during this quarter. You're going to see an announcement. ExxonMobil, Chevron, Shell, all these players are going to be talking about these write downs and job cuts and saying we're not going to drill, we're not going to do any production. And that affects, as we talked about earlier in the show, it's going to affect the stock market. It's going to affect inflation because when oil and gas prices go down, then you see other wholesale prices down. And the Fed's 2% inflation target it's going to be hard to reach. It's going to be difficult. So it's going to be a lot of pain. That 600 jobs, you may see more announcement later on, more jobs cuts. With those companies in the Fayetteville Shale and other oil companies in Oklahoma, Texas, Louisiana, and surrounding states. It's going to be brutal for several at least 12 to 16 months until the price of crude oil and natural gas goes back up.
Ripples are really larger than just ripples. A lot of big banks have bankrolled a lot.
Yeah. And they, I heard a report this morning. They are concerned that a lot of these oil companies can't pay back their long-term debt. Take for instance, Southwestern Energy bought some assets up in Pennsylvania for $5 billion, and they have that debt on the book now. And it's going to be a struggle for them to continue because they don't have any cash flow coming in. So how are you going to pay off your debt when you don't have any cash coming in? That's going to be difficult. And they're going to go back to the banks and say, we need more money to pay off our debt from the money you gave us earlier. The banks are going to say, wait a minute. And then you're going to see some bankruptcies and things pretty soon.
Complicating this as well is a great slowdown in Chinese GDP and a strong dollar. That's great if you're taking a European vacation, but if you're trying to sell Arkansas goods overseas.
Yeah, manufacturing. You're starting to see right now the number of manufacturing jobs in Arkansas is at about 150,000. That's the lowest we've seen since the Clinton administration. We haven't seen that blue collar jobs that low, and blue collar jobs support the middle class in Arkansas. In the stock market, people are starting. If you ask anyone that you know, how is your 401k doing right now?
Don't ask.
People say, I don't even look at it. So, and as you said, the problems in the Chinese markets is starting to affect the broader economy. So that Fed cut, that Fed rate hike that took place at the end of the year, and the GDP momentum that people said is going to extend into 2016, it may not happen. It's going to be brutal.
Okay, we're days away now from our two candidates with Arkansas connections. On the Democratic side, of course, Mrs. Clinton, the GOP side, Mr. Huckabee. Both are troubled. Steve right now in Iowa and in New Hampshire as well, but let's focus on Iowa. It's Feb 1, right? Yeah.
It is. Bernie Sanders has put a little bit of a kink in Hillary Clinton's March nomination. Now, this is temporary, we all say, but it almost certainly is. He may win Iowa, he may win New Hampshire. Ultimately, everything is stacked in her favor. There's too many superdelegates, there's too much money, there's too many delegates down south. Hillary Clinton almost just cannot lose this nomination. But on the other side of the coin is Governor Huckabee, who is in a pretty rough spot. And he's already said if he does not do well in Iowa, he will probably be getting near the end of the race, and it's hard to see how he does well in Iowa.
Yeah, and I mean, as we've noted in previous programs, his cash coffers are pretty low. He's laid off some staff. And on the issue of Hillary, the one thing that is interesting in that whole race is that she started with a 50-point lead, and now that lead is down into single digits, and I guess the issue is that the Democratic Party doesn't want this race to continue for too long. You got the Iowa, New Hampshire, but then you get into some of those others. At some point, people are going to say, well, and you're going to get pressure on Sanders to drop out or concede. So it'll be interesting. Especially, but also the other side is just as interesting.
Yeah, but on the GOP side, it's a knife fight. two different schools of thought, two different approaches. Supposedly mainstream, whatever that is anymore, and then on the right side, and people are still trying to figure out what Mr. Trump, populist, but they're trying to figure out exactly what his ideology is, or if he has one.
I would argue that there's three. There's establishment, there is the Ted Cruz approach, and then there's Trump, who is, whatever Trump is. He is not a traditional Republican by any means, doesn't believe what a lot of traditional Republicans believe, doesn't say the things that they want him to say. But he has tapped into something in the electorate that no one else is tapping into. You saw this week, Sarah Palin endorsed him, much to the chagrin of Cruz. I don't think anybody, this whole narrative that the punditry has had from the beginning, which is that, he'll fade. Yeah. This is some kind of thing, and he will fade, and we'll get back to normal. We're going to vote in a couple of weeks, and he is still in front.
Yeah.
This has not faded, and it's going to continue for a while, at least.
Next door to us, I believe the figure was either 7 or 9, but what's 2,000? 7,000 people at Oral Roberts University that Donald Trump pulled.
Yeah, and,
Now, very little. I get the sense very little of it was just to see Ms. Palin.
yeah. Well, a lot of people are saying, well, this is Ross Perot, that he's got this populist stand and he's very popular, but like you said, he's going to fade. But I don't see it. I think there's an independent streak in the country that's different than it was then. You're starting to see him on both the Democratic side and that are just tired of the established politics and it will be so interesting if Trump is around late into the party, so to speak, and he's still that leading figure. Then the GOP, you're going to start see what kind of decision is the GOP is going to have to make for the future, and I think it would affect the future of the entire party.
We'll pick it up next week, or certainly 2 weeks after from now. Thanks for joining us, guys. Thanks for coming in. Thanks to you, as always. See you next week.
Arkansas Week is made possible in part by the Arkansas Times, keeping you informed by covering people, events, and politics in Arkansas. By FM 89, KUAR in Little Rock, with in-depth news reporting, analysis, and discussion each weekday.